interesting aspects to the session as well. So we have two resource person guest lectures today. We have Ms. Neelam and Ms. Pooja. We welcome you to MSSW, to the Department of HR&OD. And unfortunately, due to some unavoidable personal reasons, our third resource person, Ms. Raghavi, is unable to attend today's session. Sorry for my dog. I think my dog is very enthusiastic to talk to you all. So now I would like to call upon my colleague, the captain of the corporate ship, uh, Angel, to take over the panel discussion as a moderator.
Thanks, Arun, for that wonderful introduction. As once said by William Sloane Coffin Jr., diversity may be the hardest thing for a society to live with, and perhaps the most dangerous thing for a society to be without. Reflecting on this quote, we can understand how important diversity is, and many organizations have understood this and have been working towards creating a more diverse and inclusive workspaces. Lately, they've also shifted their focus from creating just a diverse and inclusive workspace to creating a culture that values diversity by providing an opportunity for the diverse groups to take part in, and also creates in them a sense of belongingness by making them feel accepted for who they are. Today, we have with us two eminent personalities who have been working towards creating balanced organizations and societies. One of them worked towards enabling a community that has been subjected to social stigma since time immemorial to turn towards dignified and sustainable livelihoods. And the other one has been working towards making an inclusive workspace for them. I take immense pleasure introducing our panelists for today's discussion on the topic diversity, inclusion, and belonging. In and national social entrepreneur. She is the founder of Divergent, India's first ever social enterprise solely dedicated to improving the socio-economic status of the transgender community. Till date, Neelam and her team have created jobs for over 200 transgender persons and have successfully sensitized over 22,000 corporate employees in India. Her startup has won many recognitions, and to name a few, they have won Digital London Startup of the Year Award in 2015, followed by being recognized India's most innovative startup in 2019 by the Confederation of Indian Industry. Recently, they were honored for their inclusion efforts by the National Commission of Minorities. Neelam here is a direct speaker and an eminent elected by the Forbes 30 Under 30 2021 and LinkedIn's Top Influencer 2021. A warm welcome, Neelam.
Hi,
Moving on,
Angel.
we have
Thank you
Ms.
so
Pooja
much.
Shahani. Pooja is a recognized and respected international diversity, equity, and inclusion executive with over 10 years of experience working with multinational organizations and non-profits in India, Hong Kong, and the US. At present, Pooja is the founder of Kinsity Consulting and the co-founder of Metamorphosis. Both are consulting practices focused on building equitable organizations and societies. As a former journalist, development practitioner, and corporate leader, Pooja believes in the power of courageous questioning and co-creating more sustainable and equitable ecosystems. Over Pooja's career, she has advised, designed, and implemented inclusion strategies across organizations using a research-driven and creative approach. Pooja is a sought-after speaker and facilitator at industry conferences. She partnered with NASCOM to deliver workshops across India on LGBTQ inclusion in the workplace. In addition, she has received the Global Diversity Leadership Award by the World HR&D Council for her contribution in the diversity space in 2015 and 16. She's a co-author of a publication called Diversity and Inclusion, Buzzing the Business Case Stories from India. A warm welcome, Pooja. Pooja, I would like to start the discussion with you. You have been in the corporate sphere for a considerable time period, and your contribution to the industry, especially in the case of diversity and inclusion, is commendable. So, could you please brief us on what diversity, inclusion, and belongingness means to you?
Sure. Thank you for that. And first, I just want to thank everyone for being here. It's always lovely to be on a panel with Neelam. Actually, I think this is our first Neelam where we're both on a panel together, but we have a long history, so I'm excited to be here on this with her. I also want to just very quickly acknowledge sort of the life that we're living in at the moment. So I hope that all your families and all of you are in good health. And if possible, do remember self-care is equally important as you do the work that you're doing. So I just want to acknowledge that as well. Angel, thank you for your question around diversity, inclusion, and belonging. For me, these three words actually mean different things, and there's actually one word that's missing, which I would like to offer today. One is diversity is really representation. It's about the various differences that we see, either in terms of characteristics or even very sort of deep level differences like political beliefs, things that we can't see, like sexual orientation. So there are two kinds of sort of areas in which that we recognize diversity, the surface level and the deep level. And so a lot of the times the way we do this in organizations is really about numbers. It's really about representation, who's represented in the organization. Inclusion for me, and there are many definitions of this word, but for me, the one that I like the best is inclusion is the ability to really feel like I belong in an organization, but my uniqueness, the unique side of me, is also valued as much as the fact that I belong to this organization. So for me, belongingness is actually an outcome if inclusion is done well and done properly. The third word that I want to offer actually is equity. Equity is actually something that we're missing right now in our diversity and inclusion conversation. You see a lot of organizations bringing in various kinds of people, really focusing on hiring individuals who could sort of bring in different perspectives, but also improve representation. You see a lot of organizations working on inclusive culture, but equity is really about the systems in which we operate, which are already in some way unfair and in some way excludes people. So how do we ensure that we're looking at the systems that we've built over time, our practices and our policies, to ensure that anyone who actually joins this organization has an experience that is both one where they feel included and one that they feel like all their opportunities, fair access to opportunities as well as resources is available to everyone. So really looking at that equitable lens. So that's my response to that, Angel.
Hear me?
Yes, I can.
I think there's some issue with my audio. I'm extremely sorry. I'm not able to hear you speak.
Oh, was everyone else
Just
able to
a
hear me
moment.
speak?
Yes, we were able to. I think, Angel, there's some problem from your side. Are you able to hear us, Angel? Angel? My sincere apologies for the technical glitches. We'll just connect back in 2 minutes. Meanwhile, Arun, do you have any questions for the panelists?
Yes, sure. Thank you so much, Pooja, for such wonderful interpretation of your these of so many terms. And I would like to now ask Neelam about her interpretation of these diversity, inclusion, and belonging according to her perspectives and earlier experiences.
Thanks, Arun. And really nice to be on the same panel with Pooja. Pooja has been my mentor at various points in my life. So, interesting fact, I used to work with Goldman Sachs, where Pooja was the head of D&I. And I still remember, I think it was the day when I quit my job or just a day before, I'm like, this kid was like, Pooja, what do I do next? Like, I know I want to do something, but how do I go about it? So I think starting from there till date, life has come, I think, in different forms and shape. And I think it's also coming a full circle, but I've had the privilege to work with people like Pooja who've been in this space for really long and actually understand it at the very depth of it. So, hi everyone, my name is Neelam Jain. Firstly, I kept thinking the person who was talking to me was Bhavishya. So I kept responding on emails saying, hi Bhavishya, hi Bhavishya. And now when I came in, I realized it's the name of the event. So apologies and thank you to the entire team who's been coordinating and bringing this together. A little before I say what DNI and DE&I means to me, I came from a space where I didn't think I would get into development or I would get into diversity, equity, inclusion. I had no idea what those terms meant. For me, it started from a place of sympathy, to be honest. Seeing people who didn't have what they could potentially have, especially the transgender community, didn't have access to jobs and many other things. So it really started from a place of being very sympathetic. But over a point, I have learned and unlearned a lot of things about, how do you work with communities together? How do you actually ensure inclusion is happening at a very meaningful level and not tokenism? So it's been a whole journey for me. We've been about 4 years almost of running Periphery. I think pretty much what Pooja said, the E&I, it can be applied at any place in your life. It's not just your workplace, even at home. Do I actually feel like I can be my best version? I can be my whole self? And am I able to be someone who's able to add value, not to others' life, but to my own life, right? That for me is me being myself, which is included, and me being able to express my uniqueness and everything else as well. So I think it's just as simple as that. As long as we're creating societies, we're creating organizations and places that are wholly accepting, and it's very easy to say, but can we really accept people the way they are with the professional boundaries and many other layers that come with it, right? It takes a lot of work, and yeah, that's what I think it is.
Thanks, Neelam. I'm so sorry, there was some technical glitch. And thanks for Arun and Vaishnavi for taking this over. And Neelam, since you already started talking about how it all started, you never expected to be in this space in the first place. So could you tell us where this entire journey started and how and when?
Sure. For everybody who doesn't know, Angel did happen to intern with Periphery as well. So we also go not a very long way, but I think just almost a year ago or something. So that was fun. We did a little research project together, which was super helpful. So thank you again, Angel. My journey started when I was at Goldman. I was a financial analyst, and I was not, I would say honestly, while my job was great and I had amazing people to work with, I just felt like I was not as connected to my job. I don't have any better word than that. So I was always looking for things to do outside of my work. So, just join any club, join any groups, affinity groups, etc., and things like that. And there was a very active LGBT network in Goldman that, Pooja and her team were running. So I used to go and attend those events. And I remember one of those events where transgender people were invited. They were on the stage talking. And for me, that was absolutely stunning because I had never seen transgender people like that. Talking on a stage, shoulder to shoulder, speaking in English, all of that was extremely fascinating for me. And I'm like, wow, this is possible. Because my only impression of the community was what I had seen on the street and buses and everywhere. I picked up the conversation with a couple of them after the event got over. And then it was just nice and interesting. I left it at that. Then came a point where there was Analyst Impact Fund, which was going on. It was a competition within Goldman for young analysts to actually pitch their ideas and have that funded. So I pitched for the idea of trans inclusion at workplace. And I remember it drew so much attention and people really loved it. So by then I realized that I'm actually spending a lot more time not doing my day job and doing everything else outside of it. So that was like a knock on my head that, hey, listen, if that's what you're interested in, why are you, who are you fooling? So it took some time. I took the plunge after 2 years of working at Goldman. I quit. I came back to my hometown. I started doing a lot of work on the ground, understanding the realities of the community, and then preparing the plan for Periphery, which was very simple, that enable the community to have jobs that everybody else has. That's about it. And ensure that workplaces are ready for it, just like how all of us go for jobs and have a decent livelihood. The community, the transgender community, should also have that. So that's how it all started.
Thank you, Neelam, for sharing that story. That's very inspirational, and to know that all of us know this one side of transgender community where we feel right. They probably they are not that equipped, and they probably, we always see them as someone different, right? So thanks for taking this up. It's an inspiration for all of us here.
Pooja, coming back to you, you have been a head and consultant for diversity and inclusion many organizations in the past, right? So can you throw some light on the importance of having policies pertaining to diversity and inclusion and its impact in the organizations?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think Neelam will also be able to add to that, given sort of her very unique position, actually. But on a high level, I think there are lots of policies that companies have, that organizations have, that impact individuals' day-to-day lives, right? When you think about policies, you think about things like leave policies, vacation policies, insurance policies, benefit policies, POSH, prevention of sexual harassment, equal opportunities policies. All of these policies are related to DE&I. In fact, it's a big component of the equity piece, because without these policies, there is really no system around ensuring that these aspects that actually give people an opportunity to feel included and take care of their very specific needs. There's no way of checking that if these policies don't exist. So the policies are extremely important. I have to, though, say also that while policies exist, their culture is equally important, because you can have the best policies in the world, but if there's no culture in the organization where someone can use that policy or leverage that policy for their benefit, then the policies actually don't mean anything. So, for example, if you think about things like POSH, prevention of sexual harassment, right? A lot of organizations use this as a way to ensure that the workplace is a safe space for women. However, if you look at the POSH policy, there is a lot of flexibility around the fact that you can make it gender neutral. So an organization then can move towards it and say, we have this, it's mandated by the government, but really we know that it's not enough for our organization. So let's ensure that our POSH policy also ensures that it's gender neutral. So then people whose experiences in the workplace, let's say, for example, people from the transgender community, same-sex individuals who will have their own sort of experiences of harassment, need to have a place to go and complain about that, need to have a place in which they're provided some level of justice based on their experiences that they face. There has to be a space where that happens. And the fact that an organization can do that is actually quite empowering, and it actually signals to people that this organization is an inclusive organization. This organization is one that will be mindful of my experiences, because we also know that harassment doesn't have to be very visible. It can be also very invisible, can be very subtle. So really, that's one of the ways in which I think that you can see how one policy, which is a government policy, can be tweaked and supported in an organization in a very different manner and directly impacts people's experiences at work. I also feel like, besides policies, I also feel like practice in a space of having that openness is very, very important. So for example, a story that I'd like to share is, I was working with an individual who was having this very negative experience at home with a partner. And turned out that this individual had showed up in the office and had, in some sense, harassed the other individual. Not very visibly, but very subtly. And it made the individual feel very unsafe, even at work. So now the question is, what's the role of the organization in this? There's no policy to say that an organization needs to support an employee who's experiencing something that's outside of the organization's remit, right? But organizations actually can make a case for that, to say that our employees need to feel safe wherever they are. To what extent can we as an organization support our employees? What kind of mechanisms can we put into place? So an example for what happened in the story was the ability to actually bring in our security systems to ensure that our security was aware that this individual was going through something, to ensure that even if the other individual, who was technically the abuser, doesn't show up in the office. If they do show up in the office, what is the role of the security in that sense? So you can see like various ways. So it's very nuanced, So policies, they're words, but the way they actually practice them, the way an organization can make sure that they're using those policies in a manner that really support employees is equally important.
Thanks, Pooja. Thanks for briefing us on that. And I think it's It's a completely new, different perspective we've got on the policies and practices. And thanks for sharing an example on that. Neelam, would you like to add onto this?
I was just completely listening into Pooja's quote on this. I I think one thing that goes without saying is policies are important. Like I feel there are two types of people. Uh, just for the sake of understanding, one, those who don't know, but when we tell them, when we sensitize them, they learn and they understand. But and there is a second type. There are people who may actually be transphobic, may actually be homophobic, and may actually cause problems to the people very well knowingly, right? So while culture is going to take care of the type 1 people who just want to have the understanding, policies will very well take care of the second type, which, in quote unquote, can be troublemakers as well. And sometimes we think that, okay, there's just one trans person in my company. Do I need to do this? Or I'm just a small startup with 5 people. Do I need to do this? Right? You need to have set of policies, guidelines in place, no matter what your size is, no matter how many people you're directing it for. You may think it's just for, even if it's just for one person, right? Like, for example, when you're going out for lunch, if you tell them here, eat non-veg, you're still going to ensure that you take care of that person's need at the end of it, right? So this is as simple as that we have to take care of each person's need. It is as basic as eating food. And if we take care of people's food preference, why won't they take care of things that are intrinsically so important in their life? So, when you guys go out and, you're seeing the world, you will understand that you will have a lot of this pushback from leaders saying it's just one person, one trans person, or LGBT communities, probably just 10% of the population. Do we really need to have same-sex partner benefits, et cetera, et cetera? We need to. There's no discussion about it. Even just need to do what is right for each and every person in the organization.
Thanks, Neelam. So, Neelam, my next question is to you as well. So, over the years, you would have gotten experience and exposure to work with people across different generation gaps, right? So, do you think generation has or would challenge the implementation of diversity and inclusion strategies?
I honestly don't know if I'm the right person to answer this, because I haven't seen too much of life myself. Like, if I was in my 40s, 50s, and if I had to really say that, yes, this is how it can impact, and this is how probably 20s think and 30s think, and just an overview, right? So I really don't know. And I think I will listen to what Pooja has to say about this.
Yes, over to you, Pooja.
No, not saying that Pooja is old, but I just think she has a lot more experience of dealing with very diverse set of people, honestly. And my work experience has mostly been with the youth. So we think in our own way. We just want to do everything that is possible, but reality is very different as well. So.
Thanks, Neelam, for that. I was like, are you calling me old? No, I know you're not. But I think she has a point in the sense that this question inherently assumes that there's differences in generations. But actually, if you look at a lot of the research out there, the values of the generations more or less remain the same, besides a few tweaks here and there. Like, say, for example, the older generation, the baby boomer generation, for example, are individuals who really valued stability. And that may not necessarily be true for Gen Y. The intensity to which we value stability may be a little bit low. So I think I think what I have learned in my experience is really that, in my experience, it's about sort of the position you hold in the organization. So let's say if you're a senior leader in an organization, your ability to make decision and what motivates you is more interesting to me than how old you are. Because that will tell me what I need to do to ensure that DEI stays on your agenda, that you value DEI. Versus, like, let's say a manager and their role, I need to know what motivates them, how important DE&I is for their own career journey. Because you're not going to progress if you're not going to be an inclusive leader. So, I think the question is really more about different sort of levels in the organization, the power that you have to make decisions, and what it means to you based on where you are in an organization. So I remember so many stories. So I remember a very senior leader who I used to work with who, and this was actually about LGBT inclusion. And, you can think of this individual as sort of a relatively conservative individual, not very open, generally very like conservative about talking about personal lives, say, for example. And what I was speaking to him about LGBT inclusion, and he had many questions around it because he just wasn't exposed in a space where he could ask those questions without worry that he would come across as someone who was not a positive leader or an inclusive leader. So he just needed that space. And as we were having this conversation over months, over years, one day he came to me and he said, Pooja, I started to have this conversation with my son, and my son was so surprised that I could actually speak about LGBT inclusion because he never thought his father could. And so, I really think that sometimes we misjudge individuals based on the fact that they come from a certain generation, but it's just the lack of exposure. Today, you ask a kid about transgender inclusion, you'll see many of them who are actually quite open to it, and they don't even have the questions that even I have. And that's because the level of exposure is so different. And so I don't know really whether the question is about generation versus where you sit in an organization and the power within where you sit.
Thanks, Pooja. Thanks for busting that myth that we had that, generation has a role to play here. Neelam, coming from what Pooja had just shared, Periphery, along with providing employment opportunities, you also work on sensitizing people about the LGBTQ community, right? So do you think that this sensitization has helped in creating awareness and thus reduced discrimination to some extent?
Sorry, just fixing something. Yeah, so I got your question, Angel. Definitely sensitize in terms of whether do we need to do this, not do this mandatory, because even when people do know something about this, they don't understand it fully, or they don't understand it at the level that they should. There might be people who are very sympathetic, or there might be people who've seen things of media. So we need to bust a lot of things. Even positive discrimination to a certain extent needs to be understood. So do we need these workshops and sensitization and awareness? Definitely. Does it really help? For example, we're saying someone who's been extremely scared, like say maybe a lot of us, when we see trans people on the street, we probably just run away, or we used to probably when we were kids. But some of them may have a very deep inherent fear because of some action, some sort of an incident that could have happened, and that could have caused trauma within that person as well. So will one 90 minutes workshop kind of dismantle that? Maybe not. So it is very difficult, to even put that note saying that a workshop can really fix everything. But what it can do is give people the confidence that, hey, this is just the beginning, and we're all going to unlearn a lot of things together. So we're not really saying that, hey, you open your arms and you just hug people from day one. We understand that may not be the approach that a lot of people would want to take, very realistically speaking. But we're telling people that, hey, circumstances and realities for a lot of people have been very different. For certain communities have been very different. They've not been as privileged and had to be in the space that they were. So can we just open ourselves to understanding their life from their perspective? So what that does is, then when the person comes in, the co-workers are not under the pressure to be nice to them or be extra sweet. We're just saying, hey, try and treat this like a equitable space. You welcome this colleague just like anybody else. If we need to have some specific intervention to help upskill this person, etc., we will do that. But you help us create a space where this person feels like they're an employee who is valued as anybody else. So all of those things happen, and it's a long-term process. And sensitization also needs to happen at a regular interval, especially after the person has been placed. We need to actually check in with the co-workers about how they're feeling about it. We need to check in with the managers. You need to continuously do these things, because A lot of times there's just one workshop that is done, and then people have a lot of questions that are built up over time, and they have no answers for it. So it is a long-term effort, but I'm also a very optimistic person. I do believe that there's a lot more good in what people want, and what they want to see in this world. So if you help people understand, I'm sure most of them will.
Thanks, Neelam. That's real, just amazing. So Pooja, coming back to you, could you please tell us about employee resource groups in organizations, and also how are these groups formed in organization? Is it naturally happens, or the HR team or the DEI team has to form it? How does it happen?
I'll come to that in a minute. I just actually want to add something to what Neelam just shared around
please.
sort of workshops. I think if you think about just how you've learned yourselves, right? Like when you're sitting in a classroom, you've learned something new. Oftentimes it'll go inside the brain and it'll disappear without those reinforcements that Neelam spoke about. And that's partly because that learning journey starts from raising awareness to changing behavior. But there's a lot that happens between the two. And so if you just focus on raising awareness, does it change behavior? There's actually no way of saying that, because it could be a one-off that actually doesn't leave here, because like us, we've read something, we've studied something, it's disappeared. So it's very important to remember, actually, when we're working in this kind of space, you have to go from the continuum of raising awareness to changing behavior. And what really supports that is the sustained conversations around that, but also a system, policies and practices like what we've been talking about that allows for that change to happen. Because if it doesn't happen, then it just remains somewhere that's awareness and doesn't ever move towards behavior change or action. So that's something that I just wanted to add, actually. To your question about employee resource groups, it actually happens differently in different organizations based on their own journey when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, because each organization will have a very different journey. However, it does start, like historically, if we look at how employee resource groups started, even in the US, it started from a very specific need. So let's say gender was the first place where it first began, especially gender from the perspective of women. Like what do women want? What kind of needs do they have? And it started very organically, but more and more as sort of researchers, organizations saw how it impacted the overall experience of the individual in the organization, it started to become something a little bit more structured. So what normally happens is you'll have a group of people who come from a certain community and people who support that community who will start talking about, okay, we need a space where we can actually start working together, raising awareness on this topic. We need a space where we can actually do some intentional work in this specific area. So then they go on and they reach out to HR and they figure out what are some of the possibilities that can happen. Sometimes they end up being like just closed groups. Sometimes they actually end up becoming much bigger employee resource groups with a budget, with a structure, with senior leadership support. So it's very different based on sort of even like, let's say, for example, at Goldman, when I was there, one of the groups that was starting to build in Goldman at that point of time in India specifically was the veterans community. We used to have a program called the Armed Forces Internship Program. And we had hired over a period of time quite a few people from the armed forces. And so over a period of time, the armed forces community felt like they actually needed a space to raise awareness on what is it like to be an armed forces individual, what are some of the skills they bring. And so there was a lot of discussion about whether that group could eventually become an employee resource group or not. Globally, it was already an employees resource group. In India, not so much yet because the community was quite small. And the fact that in terms of budget needs and just needs in terms of policies was relatively different. So at that point of time, the organization and HR in specific had decided to keep it as a very informal group until we find some momentum around this, until we start to engage other employees around this to ensure that we could actually turn it into a structured employee resource group that could have a budget and that could have a strategy around it. So over time, it became one, but in the beginning, it did not start like that. Employee resource groups are great space for many reasons. It provides a safe space for people to share some of the very specific examples and stories that they've experienced at work. B, it also supports the organization. I think this is one place where employee resource groups are under leveraged. But if you actually go as an organization to ask employee resource groups, here is a strategy that we're building. How can we make it more inclusive? If you were the buyer, if you were the customer, what would you want? Like, actually, it's got a lot of opportunity and potential, which is really under leveraged, and it's used very ad hoc at the moment, but I think it has lots of potential. One example that I can give again was we sort of in my consultancy times, we used to work with this pharmaceutical company. And this pharmaceutical company actually decided, we're going to actually go to the women's employee resource group and ask them about the branding of this particular medicine that we have, because it's mostly for children. But we actually have never engaged with women in our own organization to see what would make sense for them. They're mothers, they have sisters who are mothers. What would attract them to buy this medicine versus another medicine? And again, huge opportunity, which we, I hope we move towards leveraging. That's it.
Yeah, thanks, Pooja. Thanks for briefing us on employee resource group, because most of us did not have an idea about it and how such groups are formed in organizations. So, talking about this, what do you think is the most difficult part of implementing a DNI program? I want Neelam and Pooja to answer this question. So, we'll start with you, Neelam.
Sorry, could you repeat that? What is the most difficult
part of implementing a DNI strategy or a program?
Oh, oh, we have a lot of challenges we can talk about. I think that's a never-ending list in itself. But I'll tell you, I think one of the most biggest things we've seen is everybody's enthusiastic about it. Everybody is like, even with, say, when we're running periphery, right? So many people I speak to tell me that this is amazing. You guys are helping trans people get jobs. Let me know what I can do, how I can pitch in. And it honestly just stops over there. I don't blame the people because everybody has their own things going on, but the whole enthusiasm sort of converting into action is a whole different ballgame. So, while we wait for people to have a very organic approach, we don't want to push people, we don't want to incentivize them and tell them that, hey, if you come and do this, then you will get this out of it. But then there are times we have to do that because we need a lot more people involved in things like these. So DNI program in itself is very large, and as you all will also be venturing into the world of work, you will see that there are many things you can do. You can DNI in itself talks about everybody's inclusion. So it's not specifically that you will be working for, say, a minority community only. It's not something that we look at as charity firstly. DNI, you also talk about men and how men's inclusion and how some of the stereotypes and biases that are there against men should be shedded. So DNI is great for everyone. I think first things first is for all of us to really understand how it impacts each and every one of us. How it impacts working mothers, or how it impacts men, how it impacts someone who's gay, lesbian, queer, transgender, someone who is coming from first generation of students. So it impacts everybody, right? So first things that we have to do and understand is what is the impact that it will have and how can I really make a difference over there. And I think if people start understanding why this is important for everybody, it will not be difficult in actually getting people together to drive it. Because DNI is something that cannot be driven just by one leader or a 5-10 people in a 20,000 organization saying we want to do it. We want people to come together. It's a cultural change that we're talking about as well. So I think helping people realize that this is equally important for all of us is the step one. And second thing is, just understanding that maybe we can't solve all the problems. Like one Neelam or maybe one Angel cannot solve everybody's problem, but we can probably take up one thing which we may be most passionate about, and which is what I did. So when I was at Goldman myself, I was trying to identify ways in which I can, impact trans community, maybe both at work and also outside of work. So I didn't limit myself thinking that, oh, I can't do so many things. But I just ventured into one thing that I felt most interested in. And I think that also is a great place. So if people come up voicing their areas of interest, the D&I community grows stronger and the work definitely enables and becomes a lot more interesting as well. Yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot more to this entire space, but passion is super important. Feeling connected to what you're doing is very important, and ask as many questions, because if you don't understand why you're doing this, then there's no point, right? So you need to have a clarity of how this impacts at all the different levels. So yeah, that's it.
Pooja, would you like to add on to what Neelam said?
No, I think what Neelam said is very spot on in terms of how you need in this space, you need to know why you want to be engaged in this space at any point of time, because it's a difficult space. It's not a space that's easy, it doesn't have very clear-cut answers. Everything is very nuanced, and you have to spend a lot of time and patience with it also, because change doesn't happen over time. You could be in an organization for so many years and wishing and pushing for something to change, and it only changes after you leave. You know what I mean? So it's not something that happens very quickly. So really, that passion, that resilience, that connectedness is really important. The only thing that I would want to add from what Neelam said is, D&I is for everybody. It is for the whole organization. It is for every institution. I'm working with some schools right now, and I had never even thought about what would DEI look like from an institution, as an educational institution. What does that even mean, And I think I've realized that it exists in all spaces, and, just like what Neelam said in the beginning, it also exists in our homes. So this idea that it exists everywhere, but what it also does, it gives us the opportunity to ask who's left out, because our worldviews of who's included is very different, and we will have a very specific mainstream mindset of understanding that. But when you start to actually dwell deeper into DEI, you realize there's an opportunity to ask who's on the edges, who exists in the periphery, whose needs are we not looking at all. So say, for example, race in the US was one of those. It's always been an issue, but now all of a sudden we have organizations being like, wait, have we left that conversation outside of the organization all this while? And what does it mean to bring it back in? In India, what does it mean to think about caste within the context of DEI? What does it mean to think about religion within the context of DEI? And we can only start doing that actually once we engage with the topic and ask that question as to who's left out. Otherwise, we'll always be leaving people out. So that's kind of, and I think it's a continuous challenge, because we are still learning. I mean, both Neelam and I are probably also still learning, because the learning never stops. So that's why it's a longer, continuous journey that goes beyond us.
Thank you, Pooja and Neelam. So this brings me to the last question that I have for both of you. So according to this report released by LinkedIn on learning trends in India 2020, they've found out that building skills and capabilities required for the future is one of the top priorities of organizations. So I would like Neelam to answer the first part of it. So Neelam, you're working with enabling candidates, right? Who are considering that not all of them have been given equitable and fair educational opportunities due to the stigma around their identity. So as an organization which works towards enabling them, how do you look at this, and how do you work on enabling your candidates?
Sure. So I think on a very technical level, what most organizations do and what we also do is have very robust training programs that will help the communities. Firstly, just to break the myth and the stereotype, there are a lot of transgender people who have great education, who've come from, have a lot of varied work experience as well. So that's one part of the community, and what we're ensuring for them is representation. We're ensuring that they're not losing a particular opportunity only because they're trans. So they have the skills, but are they getting the right place? Are they getting the right salary? Are they being valued as managers, etc.? That's one. Now the other thing is, for the, for the future of work, etc. And this is not only limited to organizations that work with communities, but for anybody. Upskilling, focusing on skills that are going to be some of the most important for the future is super important. So till date, until the last month, actually, we used to run a lot of these non-technical training programs, which will upskill our folks on things like soft skills, English, communications, corporate etiquette, things like that, right? So that exposes our community to a whole range of jobs, right from an admin executive to an HR, to someone who can start off in the operations analyst sort of a role, right? Like right from a 15,000 rupees per month job to about a 40,000 rupees job, literacy and computer skills, all of that sorted. um, there's a lot of opportunities that open up for you. But what we've realized through the pandemic, and which is also inevitable, is the kind of jobs that are going away. Like just in this month, there's a 40% decrease in entry level jobs, which means a lot of your admin level jobs are gone. Like, people are not really hiring for someone to come and sit in the front or do your office work, because office is not there. Everyone's working and everyone's expected to be independent. So a lot of those jobs are going. So the level of upskilling and the need needs to be taken in. We need to understand what are the market trends. We need to understand what companies are hiring for and upskill our people for that. Don't upskill people just for the sake of upskilling. So what we've started doing is also started having these software technology training programs. We've started our first batch with ThoughtWorks actually last month, where we're specifically training people on learning Java, on learning programming skills, etc. Because why should people not have this only because they're trans? Why can't transgender people be software developers and engineers and etc.? So it's just about understanding where the world is going, and you're following that track, or you're ahead of that track and telling the world, here's where we're going, follow us. Either way. And also a plugin, we're definitely welcoming volunteers to come and support us in our training initiatives as well. So if you all would love to understand a little bit of the corporate world and the development world before you get into it, do come in for an internship, volunteering, etc., etc. And a huge amount of work in our training space. There are about 100 people average for getting trained, every 2 months. So there's a lot going on.
Thanks, Neelam. I think after listening to the work that you do, I'm pretty sure a lot of us here will reach out to you for internships in the future. And Pooja, yes, taking from what Neelam had just mentioned. So, how do you think organizations or institutions can work towards, making people coming from community like what Neelam just spoke about, right? In terms of how you think once they're into the organization, how can you work towards upskilling them so that they also get equal opportunities for growth in the organization and opportunities to excel?
Yeah, I would. I think all of our employees in any organization needs upskilling, right? And that shouldn't be something that acts as a barrier for someone from a different community. And so for me, it's very important for any organization to look at their upskilling. So one of the challenges actually in the hiring space, with the focus on hiring people from different communities, be it people with disabilities, be it people from the transgender community or LGBT populations, there's a lot of focus on hiring, but there's not a lot of focus on retention and developing within the organization. And that really falls on the organization to say that we are responsible for hiring people, but we're also responsible for retaining individuals. We're also responsible for developing individuals. And I think there a lot more focus needs to go on to what does a specific individual need? Because to be honest, if you look at our learning sort of strategies, our learning strategies have been very sort of broad. While a broad strategy is very important, so is a very specific individual strategy very important. For any population, whoever you are, you will have your own specific needs. So I think the focus has to continue to be that. How does an organization think about learning strategies as a whole, but also ensure that there are learning strategies very, very specific to individuals as well? Because yeah, I mean, a lot of us who don't have data skill set or technical skill sets may very soon have to think about how do we want to stay relevant in the organization, given the kind of work that's happening right now, right? I'm not saying that if you don't have that, you won't be successful. But I do think there's a level of knowledge that you need in order to even stay relevant, to have those conversations, because we are really going in a very different direction. So I do think that something that's broad as well as individualized and customized is going to be more and more important.
Thanks, Pooja and Neelam. And that brings us to the end of the session. Thank you so much. So I would like to conclude by refreshing on whatever we understood now. We understood what diversity, equity, and inclusion means in the organization, and they have clearly explained us with practical examples how policies and practices are very important to ensure that everyone feels included and accepted in the organization. And thanks, Neelam and Pooja, for busting a lot of myths that we had as well, and also giving a brief on how important sensitization programs is, irrespective of where you come from. It is good that the hardships that certain communities who are not as privileged as you face, and also touching upon policies that has to be gender neutral, and organization which focus on creating employee resource groups, so that employees or people who feel probably not accepted as a part of an organization or have faced certain issues can reach out to uh, someone who can help them with that. So thank you so much. And this also helps us to so when we reflect upon whatever we learned, we can also understand that as uh, people are part of the society, right? We have to be more inclusive and accepting of others and try to coexist uh, in order to live with utmost harmony and peace. So thank you, Pooja and Neelam. So now we open for questions. Participants, if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute and ask those questions, or you can also drop your questions in the chat box.
If you guys don't have any question, then I have a question for you all.
I just unmuted myself to do exactly the same. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, but I would just be curious to understand. It's actually firstly interesting to see that colleges and students are taking up, themes along the lines of DE&I. What would, if you, Angel, or anybody else would like to answer, what would you all do when you enter organization? What is your vision? Like, how do you view this, and what is the change that you want to bring in from whatever you understand from the outside? Yeah.
Hi, ma'am. This is Vaishnavi. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically why we got this topic, and we're very much interested because diversity and inclusion is being very much on a top space now. And this is a society where every person needs the right to be equally respected and to be treated in the very equal way. And so that is why we thought about this topic. And also the main reason why we focus on LGBT community is that um, wherever we go, wherever we talk about DNI or DEI, all we focus about is men, women. Uh, and fortunately or unfortunately, people are knowingly or unknowingly ignoring the part of LGBT community. How much ever we know that there is a community, how much ever we know what are the advantages of helping them and giving them a life to grow, they're not much focused on it. So that is one reason why we thought we should also focus on it, because being HRs, future HRs and few HRs have joined us today. Uh, Wherever we get an opportunity to work in a DNI cell, we would definitely take this forward. So that was the main agenda because of having LGBT. Thank you, both of you.
Neelam and Pooja. So we have a question from Ramya Murkadas. She's dropped this question in the chat box. So her question is how to build environments where majority and minority communities live. To make sure everyone feels valued, respected, everyone is being aware of the privileges and help others who don't have such a privilege over the years. Neelam, are you there? Pooja?
Yes, Pooja, do you want to go first?
No, go ahead, Neelam.
I think it's a very, honestly, if we had one clear answer for that, we would have implemented that already. But it is extremely difficult, and which is why we have all of these things in place, right? From strategies of what you can do, policies, awareness, representational hiring, all of that. There's so many things that are being done to build environments like this. And I feel like there's no specific answer. It's all I would like to say and keep this really, really short. And the more we're trying, and I think there's a lot more research that needs to be done on what is effectively working, because we're trying many things. I know organizations try a whole lot of things, but what is actually giving us result is not always easy to calculate. So yeah.
Thank you, Nilam. I have a question actually. So we are all college students and we'll be leaving in few months or a year's time. But after entering an organization into HR and OD, we would have our bosses, we'll be reporting to somebody. So what if the reporting, the manager is not that open or welcoming to all these topics, whereas we as the starters would like to bring a change to the entire organization. So what would be your advice for starters like us to help in this regard?
Thank you for asking that. I'll give it a shot, and then Neelam, please feel free to add. I think actually I don't. You all have a lot of power within yourselves right now. Every organization wants to hire all of you. And in fact, what we're seeing in research more and more over the past few years is the power of potential employees asking questions around, even at the interview stage, to ask, what is your DEI strategy? What do you have in place? What kind of policies do you have? Are you inclusive of LGBT plus individuals in your organizations? Asking those questions actually really pushes organizations to think about, do we have that? Like, do we not have that? Like, I'm going to lose on this great talent because I'm coming across as an organization that is not inclusive. And so there's huge power actually sitting here within this room, this virtual room that we're in, to really push some of that needle where organizations don't have that. I think with managers, it's a little bit harder because each manager is different. You can be in a very inclusive organization, but your manager may be uncomfortable with that, may not know how to have a conversation around that. And for that, you need to have your conversations. You need to be brave. One of the things that I really focus on, and really I think it's going to be very important, is the ability to have courageous conversations in a gentle and a kind manner, where you're not, calling anyone a bigot or someone who's like excluding individuals, but you're really just trying to understand where someone comes from. What is their experience like? If you do that, there's a higher chance actually of individuals connecting with you as a team member and really connecting with what matters to you. Because if you think about it, inclusion, what we're talking about is strands right now. We're talking about including LGBT plus individuals. We're talking about including people with disabilities. But inclusive behaviors are intangible behaviors that matter to an individual, that matter to an employee. So I think having those courageous conversations is really important. And, every organization wants all of you. So use that power.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Adding on to that, actually, I think one of the things that we often end up doing is we enter a new organization and we're like, this is not right, this is not right, this is not right. I want to fix this. And imagine how much we affect the ego and the power play that is already there, and which is very normal, right? Someone's been a manager, a leader for 10 years, and you're coming in day 10 and you're telling them that this is not okay. We need to change all of this. So, but like Pooja said, we need to be extremely brave for any change to happen, but at the same time, extremely patient uh, as well, because change will not happen overnight. And also, the way you voice out has to be super kind. It has to be done with time, and you need to settle yourself in the organization, build the right connections, have people who will back you up. You can't just go about expecting change. And we know of very traditional organizations where the word lesbian also, if you just bring it out, people will just be like, what are you saying, don't bring this up. Those organizations are now running LGBT campaigns, and they're very old people in their 70s, 80s, who are leaders who are driving this themselves, because it took good amount of time for the employees to help them understand that. So it takes time and patience and a lot of people and connections to back you up, but you can get there, and you can really be an entrepreneur even when you're an employee. It's not that you have to quit your job and actually think about doing all this. You can make great deal of change even just within the organization that you're at.
Thank you, Neelam. Thank you so much for the clarity. Does anybody else have any questions? Also, I have one last question from my side. Like, is there any examples of organizations that provide like specific policies to LGBTQ or especially able people, where you could quote some examples, like real time, any organizations are doing that for them, any practices or HR policies for us to just get awareness?
There are a lot of them. I mean, to just quote a few that I know, there's Accenture that has been in this space, one of the earliest, I think. Goldman Sachs also. All of these organizations didn't really publicize when they started off, but they have benefits, right, for trans people, surgeries, hormone therapies, to same-sex partners, insurance, etc. So many policies in line with government's mandate for inclusion of persons with disabilities as well. Accenture, Walmart, Goldman Sachs, RBS. Most of these MNCs right now have, but Pooja can give you names of those, obviously, who've been doing a lot more fundamental work as well. Yep.
Yeah, so most of the names that Neelam has already shared, but actually some companies are really experimenting with very different ways of attracting talent. So for example, we do have companies who actually in their job descriptions itself will make a statement that this job is open to individuals of all sort of diverse backgrounds, or specifically some jobs will actually state this job is open for people with disabilities. It's open for women who have been on a gap due to child caring. And I think a lot of this is changing now because of the kind of conversations we've had. We know that the work that we've done in the past has brought about some change, but not enough, because there are still barriers to access. And so in order to change that, we need to go out and be more visible in the fact that we are organizations that are looking for people. We have the right infrastructure. So say, for example, if you brand the organization and really talk about the infrastructure that's available in the organization, a child care center, a prayer room, specific accessibility products that you use, you are more likely to actually attract people who find value in all of this. So, there are, besides policies, there's a lot of other ways in terms of just ensuring that you come across as an organization that's inclusive and has really thought about this from a systemic, structural, organizational view.
That's really interesting to know. Thank you so much, Neelam and Pooja, for your answers and your patience. So does anybody else have any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
Neelam or Pooja, either of you can answer. So microaggression is one of the concept that people don't usually understand. So if you could explain to us with example Could you explain to us what aggression is with an example to diversity and inclusion space?
Sure. So there are many microaggressions are very small, subtle, everyday behaviors and insults that individuals will experience. And they're mostly in terms of statements that are made or even in terms of behavior. So say, for example, a very simple statement like, oh, you speak English so well, can in many cultures and in many communities come across as a microaggression. Oh, for a woman, you talk data really well. That's a microaggression. There's so many very subtle ways. I think even if all of you just sit down and think about what are the subtle ways in which someone has told you that you don't belong, or that you're better than we thought you were, is a form of almost like a microaggression. So I think it comes across very subtly. Oftentimes, actually, people may not even notice it. So for example, I grew up in Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong, I'm an ethnic minority, I'm a minority. And growing up, I don't think I ever noticed that these statements were microaggression, because if you come from a background that's a minority background is generally underrepresented, you would have heard these statements so many times that you almost think like that's normal. Like discrimination in some form is normal. So it often helps. I think nowadays we have a word for it. We know what these means. We know how microaggressions over time can lead to a lot of trauma, but can really impact an individual's performance and experience. The ability to even build connections with individuals and teams is impacted hugely. And again, you see this not only in statements, but body language will also tell you that there's a little bit of a microaggression. Eye rolling, say, for example, oh, this person again pausing when they speak. You know what I mean? There are many different ways in which it shows up. So again, something I think that all of you, we use all of these words. I would really encourage you to kind of go back and understand what these words mean. What does a microaggression mean? What does privilege mean? How does privilege show up for me? What are the identities that give me privilege? What are some of my own sort of unconscious bias? Because it is, as much as this is organization journey, it is also a personal journey with exploring and discovering some of this for ourselves.
Ma'am, I have a question. So can you just tell us that how we can deal with unconscious bias? Any of you, ma'am?
Sure, I'm happy to share the more sort of theoretical theory behind unconscious bias. And then Neelam, please feel free to share actually how you've been experiencing it or witnessing it with the work that you're doing. But basically, unconscious bias is actually a cognitive bias, right? They're things that over time have become something that we think is a statement. So for example, biases can be as small as I had a negative experience with someone wearing white socks, and therefore from now on, whenever I see someone wearing white socks, I do not like them. As small as that, to as large as I have a bias towards people who are Black. I have a bias towards LGBT individuals based on my past experiences. But it's really like one small event, one small experience that happens, and then is constantly reaffirmed over the course of time. And then you create this form of unconscious bias. So you don't even think about it. It's not like you've actually had a conversation with someone and then formed that opinion. You've looked at that individual and you've said, nah, that's my bias. I don't want to talk to them. I don't think they're going to be a good fit for the job. The reason this happens is that because our brain really is an energy saving mechanism. We use the way the brain works is to save energy. So anything that can be decided very quickly, which is the very unconscious ways in which we work. So I don't need to think about holding my mug. I know exactly where it is and I go get it, right? That's the way biases function. It's very quick. You don't think about it. You look, you've made a decision. And so your brain now has energy for other things to focus on. There are two ways of thinking, actually, and I'm pretty sure all of you probably know this, but this idea of system one thinking and system two thinking. So a lot of our unconscious bias actually sits in system one thinking, which is very quick, almost intuitive. You don't even think about it. System 2 thinking actually requires us to pause a little bit and to understand how we're thinking about something. So it really happens unconsciously over time. Having said that, there are lots of biases that are also conscious, which are stereotypes. Over time, they become stereotypes, and it's kind of a belief that you will have as a stereotype based on communities, based on the media, based on a lot of things. So the more unconscious things really are very small and very quick, that somewhere something has happened, you've seen it, you've witnessed it, and you've created an opinion, and over time it's reaffirmed. Now, if you go into unconscious bias and the types of unconscious bias, there are so many. I think there are over 100. But probably some of the ways that you have experienced them are things like confirmation bias. You think that someone wearing white socks is not going to do well in an interview. So you've already, you're looking for ways to confirm that. You've had a conversation with them and you said, oh, look, this person didn't know this answer. Therefore, they're not. So, you're confirming the bias for themselves. Affinity bias could be someone based on the same college, say, for example, you've received a series of resumes and you've said, oh, this person went to the same college. They're similar to me. So they must be like me. They'll be great fit for this job. So it's an affinity bias. There's so many types of biases, like I said, hundreds. So do, again, go back and see sort of what different ways in which they show up and maybe even reflect on what are your own biases. Having said that, biases are neither good or bad. What we need to understand is how do our biases impact the way we make decisions? If they're impacting the way we make decisions negatively and in a not healthy manner, we have to question where that bias comes from. And we have to then change it, which requires a lot of time and a lot of system 2 thinking. So I'm going to pause there. Neelam?
Yeah, I'll just add something quick. I think one thing that has helped us is empathy. Nothing like it, and it's a very simple word, but there's a lot to it. Putting yourself really in the place of the person, understanding, and this maybe is what Pooja is saying is a system 2 thinking as well, where actually putting yourself in a different place. You're not making an immediate judgment. You're thinking a little bit more about that person, their life, their journey, whatever it could be, right? Like, for example, maybe you look at a gay couple and you're like, why are they, in love with each other? Why can't they find a girl for themselves? Things would be all right. But what if you, instead of just judging that, what if you took a step back, try to dwell a little bit into their life and understand what is it that they're experiencing? For me, it's, for me and a lot of others who are in this space, for us, we just treat it as normal, but we understand that a lot of people don't know or don't understand this. So take that step back and really be as empathetic as possible. And this is with everything, right? I also remember when we had the lockdown, I still know most of my friends who are girls and their mothers still ended up doing all the household chores. And while unfortunately a lot of men probably didn't participate in the household activities at all, if only a lot of those men just were empathetic and understood that it is not physically possible, it is not right to have, just because you're the woman, do clean the vessels and then cook and then take care of the kids, and while also you have a job in your hand, like a full-time working job. So being empathetic is the way to really take those biases, to be, just really be kind to people. I think that's what I would say.
It's really nice responses from both of you. Is there anybody else who would like to extend some questions? Okay, I assume they are thinking, and we would get back to you if there's any questions further. But I would like to really thank both of you. It was really insightful, and we kind of we being the future HRs, recruiters, or OD practitioners, I think this session would help us to become an advocate for DEI and in our respective organizations, and also the participants who are from different walks of life. I think it would be very helpful for them as well. Now I request Jayashriya to do the honors, please.
Thank you, Arun. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Neelam Jain, founder and CEO of Periphery, and Pooja Shahani, founder and CEO of Kintsugi Consultation. So the two of you today just gave us, a different perspective of what DNI is. Because as student, as someone who's, in the first year and reading through the textbooks, we just see whenever diversity and inclusion is mentioned, we just see it's about men and women, but there's a totally different side to what DNI is. And we were so, grateful to have heard that from, two amazing women. So thank you so much. It was very inspirational. And we definitely will question, who are the people that are being left out. That was a very important question which needs to be asked. And hopefully all of us here will be asking the right questions when we go into the corporate, reality. So thank you, both of you, for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity as well. I think Neelam and I both are extremely passionate about the space. And it always gives, at least I know that it always gives me great pleasure to speak to students. Feel free to reach out at any point of time. That's what we're here for. And hopefully, I think we need all of you actually in this room to help us reimagine, really create something that is a lot more equitable than where we are right now. So we need you as much as, we're here speaking and sharing our experiences. I think we all need you to really support us and work with us to take this forward.
Thank you all so much for your time and for listening in. Would be happy to engage in any form possible, even beyond this session. So thank you.
Definitely. That's real kind of you. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work and keep inspiring us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So hi all again. I hope you are very happy with the sessions, and let us relax a bit, a little laid back, and play some fun games, and we'll have some fun, right? Shall we start? Okay, super. Okay. The PPT, please.
Can we hear some noise, please? Are you all very much interested?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. You can unmute yourselves.
Yes, please. At least now let us be interactive, more interactive, since there's no formal speakers are there.
Okay, so we have something put up on the screen for you all. It's the word. You're supposed to find out what's the word is. You're free to unmute and guess it or in the chat box.
For those of you who don't know what this game is, it's basically 4 picture, 1 word, or 2 picture, 1 word. So the two different pictures here, when you put together, it forms 1 word. Okay, and which is very similar. They're connected to each other. So connections, very similar to connections game. So if you guys know the answer, please unmute yourself and answer.
Yes, we are looking forward. Is this what HR&OD is? Is it what is? Please
So
show
the
some
word needs to
energy.
be from any particular topic or something like that.
It's the topic for the day. I'm not saying which topic. It's just the topic for the day.
Yes, just refer all the topics that you had so far in the morning, or even the recent ones. Don't think about the speakers who have come, right? Think about the content and topic, especially for boys. Any guesses, just random guesses, even if it's okay, if it's wrong. Participants.
I think we need some clue because this is very difficult. Some clue.
Yeah, actually,
Either you tell the topic or some clue we want. Or it's
Okay.
2 word or 1 word.
Okay, it's regarding to the recent topic we had. We just closed now. Good try, Latika. Good try, Deepak. Oh, you need clue. I'm sorry. I misread. Okay, it is related to the topic that we had at the end now.
Okay, so you're not supposed to only think on English words. You can mix it up and also think. It's not like only connecting the spellings exactly. You can also connect the sounds of the words and try to frame it.
Participants from corporate, I think this would be a great time for you to a little, chill from your day-to-day office work. So we are expecting your responses. Card key. Good guess, Ajay.
Okay, do you want to tell us the answer? Probably this is the trial round when maybe from the next picture we'll be able to answer.
So it's bias, okay?
So
Okay,
I
don't
guess
curse
now
me.
you all have understood how to form the words from the first connections. So now we would request all of you to participate either by unmuting yourself or by posting your comments on the chat. Are you all ready? Can I hear some noise? Some reactions?
Yes, yes.
Sure.
But this looks very tricky.
Okay, to the next slide, please.
Wow, it looks easy. Anybody can guess it. Okay, don't throw eggs on your camera. If you're thinking you're throwing at me. Any guesses, Joanna? Oh, it's
No,
over.
no. I was just
It's for the
saying.
previous
Why.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
It's very easy.
Globalized?
It's very easy.
Is it globalized?
Yeah, it's a very good try and we
Latika, go
could
ahead
take
with the
that.
answer.
Oh God. Nice, Latika. It's right. It's the right answer. And Kritika, yours also, it's like both, it's like synonyms. So yours is also equally acceptable. So the next, oh my God, this looks tough for me. But it's very easy. It's very easy. Just direct words. Wow, Omar. Let's see whether it's the right answer. Good. Okay, Vanika. Very nice. It's the right answer. And, it would be really nice even if you unmute and, give a round of applause. Otherwise, I feel like I'm talking to myself or practicing some session. Yeah, please.
And also, guys, instead of leaving your answers in the chat box,
Yeah,
please
you can
unmute
please speak
yourself and
up.
answer.
Yeah. And any participants from the corporate who have come today who have made time for us? Oh, now it's going to level 2, is it? 3 images.
Come on, guys, this is very easy.
Yeah, it's very easy. It's very easy. All it needs is a little twist and you can unveil it. Am I allowed to pick names, Vaishnavi?
Maybe.
It would be more fun.
Okay, we got few answers.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Genius,
let's wait for
Vaishnavi.
another 2 minutes, a minute or so to see if
Let's see whether
others
it's
also
right.
feel the same.
Let's see whether it's right. Oh,
Yes,
great.
Varshini,
Varshini.
you got it right.
Okay, let's disable the chat. Then only they'll speak up.
That's okay.
No, just kidding. Guys, any what? Any random guesses? Or any guesses? We have a participant named Sanjay. Any guesses, Sanjay?
Hey, I know the answer, sir.
Oh my God. Pretend that you don't.
A couple of them have answered.
Ajay and Latika. Okay, let's see whether it's the right answer. Oh, great. I don't know how they are even being this exact.
Genius people, yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay.
Stereotyping.
I know who's speaking.
Kritika.
Oh,
Yes,
it's
that's
the
the
right
right
answer.
answer.
Awesome. It's very easy. It's very easy. Are you all sleeping by any chance? You need any rock pop songs to wake you up now? Any
Any clue?
guesses?
How many words is this? Oh, someone has answered.
One word it is. Joanna. So she told composition. Okay, anybody else want to give a try? Don't worry, Joanna, we don't have any gifts. Any other random guesses? Okay, let's reveal the answer. Yes, it is right, Joanna, Paul.
We have 84 participants here in the call.
Exactly, and all of them are
So
sleeping.
can we, expect few more active people out here?
That's why the DJ, can you please play some music if it's possible? Some some folk, some dappang with the music and all to wake up. Participants, external participants, anybody from your side? Oh my god, this is a little tricky, but let's crush our brains. We'll get some.
One word or two word?
It's one word. It's one word, and it's like I've never heard of the term only in my life ever. It's like that. See, as the level goes up, the difficulty level is also hard, right?
Thanks, Arun. That helps.
Anybody else? Think. All your design thinking, creative thinking. Oh my God, Latika, what is the term even? I don't even understand. Can you tell me what is tokenism? Can anybody tell me?
Yeah, anybody.
Yeah, please. But I don't know whether it's the right answer, but I just want to know a new vocabulary for the day. Is Latika here? Any issues with? Okay. Do you know the meaning of the word? I'm curious now. I know Google helps. Please don't answer me that. Check Google. Okay, let's reveal the answer. Oh my God. Such smart IQ people, I think. Unlike me. Okay, let's. Oh my God, 5. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, let's pick people.
Is
We
it
have
a
a.
one word?
It is two words. Okay, not one word, two words. Second word is inclusion. Okay, Deepak. Let us wait and see whether it's the right answer. Thank you for the response.
Workplace inclusion.
Okay, let us check whether it's right. Oh my God, you all are like, getting the pieces together and finding the answer, right? Now it has become a group work. Very nice. Let's move on to the next. I think it's very easy to guess. Anybody? Rear view. Okay.
You're almost close.
Yeah, you're almost close.
Is it barrier?
Exactly. Who was that?
Who is that?
Nandini.
Oh, nice, nice, nice guess. And it's right. The next one. Nice. It's just a one-word answer. If you guys can take a clue. Meanwhile, I can. Sorry, is anybody speaking? Meanwhile, I can pull some people and have some fun for myself.
Diversity.
Diversity, okay. We'll keep that as a guess.
We have diversity as one option, inclusion as one option.
Next, unite.
Unite.
Okay. Okay,
Connect.
Karan. Okay. Okay, we'll have all this at mind. Any more guesses? So we have another participant named Balaji. Do you have any guesses, Balaji?
Yes, I do. I guess it's interconnected.
Oh, it's interconnected. Is there any chances that you picked the PPT before?
No, I didn't get a chance to view it.
Oh, okay. Let us check whether it's the right answer. Yes, it is the right answer. I think I asked the wrong person a question. But thank you guys for all the responses. Okay, we have next.
Involvement.
Oh my God, where is she from? Kritika. Let's see whether it's right or wrong. Oh, see, Akshay also told. Ajay. Oh, is it very easy or my brain? Am I very IQ deprived person? I don't know. I don't know how you guys are even guessing. Nice, nice, great, great, great. Okay.
Racism.
Racism. She's telling racism. Okay, let's wait and check. Anybody else? Racism. Ajay is also racism. Any more guesses? We are open for options. It's right again. I don't know. I'm feeling very inferior, guys. I think I need to go for a IQ session. Okay, let's think about this. This one is a very tough one. I'll be very happy if nobody gives the right answer. I'll feel better about myself.
Okay, is it a one word or a two word?
It's a one word. It's one word. Please make me feel better about myself.
Rethink.
Okay, let's keep that as a guess. Let's see whether it's the right answer. Any more guesses? That's all. I need one more guess at least. We have our president. Oh, okay. She knows the answer, so there's no use asking her. Pavitra Vijay Raghavan, do you have any answers? Is she here?
Yes, Arun, I'm here.
Okay. Any guesses? Random guesses?
I was also thinking on rethinking.
Okay. Okay.
Because it is RE and then a think. So I was just thinking on rethink.
Okay. Okay. You're near. You and Kritika are very near. You can just think a little more. Any more guesses? It's actually fun to pull people to be on this side and ask people questions.
I guess Latika.
I think Latika has answered.
Retention. Okay, let's see whether it's the right answer. Yeah, it is the right answer. So again, I'm feeling miserable. Okay. Okay. I think this one is a little tough. For me, I don't know about you guys. Bhagya has answered. Okay. Let's wait, Bhagya. Let's wait and see whether it's the right answer. Vashni, Ajay. I think it's like voting now. like majority of the numbers, the answer would be the same word. So let's check whether it works the same way now. Yes, it is. Nice guys, nice guys. Okay. Oh, there's a Shivlinga and all in between. It's a little tough. Any participants who have signed up for this program, can you guys answer? Jaya Anjana has posted multilingual. Okay, let's keep it as a guess. Any more random guesses? Revolver Rani. I'm sorry, your name is Karni. Okay. Next is multilingual again. So I think again it goes by the polling method. Let's reveal the answer. Yes, it is multilingual. Okay, I think we came to the end of the connections game. I hope you guys had little fun or a little diversion from the regular sessions we had from the morning. Is it yes? Just a thumbs up would boost my energy to talk more. You can do that help for me. Thank you so much for your
Yeah, Arun,
responses.
but we've always wanted to see you dance at least once.
We would do that in an unofficial manner. We will do that, not an official program.
I understand the deal.
Yes. So on that note, let's move to the next part of the session. So we had two competitions, which is Glitzup and blog writing on the topics that we have chosen. So we had those competitions yesterday, and we have the first, the prize winners. For that, for the felicitation for them, I would like to invite our judge, Mr. Vishwanathan, who is about to announce the winners. A little about him, I just wanted to introduce. Sorry,
Arun, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Sir is yet to join us. Just
Okay,
give us
okay.
2 minutes, we will get connected.
Sure.
Before that, from the participants, could we have a small feedback session? Participants who have joined us today.
That would be really helpful. Any feedback from the external participants? Were your expectations? Yes, Mr. David.
From Patrician College of Arts and Science, Chennai, and I would like to congratulate each and everyone for the completion of the successful event. And it was a very well organized program because we know we've been having a crisis, but still we overcame it. And yeah, it was a wonderful session. We have taken a lot of inputs from these sessions. So yes, thank you so much, MSSW and HR&OD, and we wish to hear more from you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Is there anybody who would like to give, especially people who have come from other colleges and corporate? It would be of great help for us to improve. Or you can put up in the chat, how do you feel about the sessions? We can have from our own students as well as to how these sessions benefited them today. Anybody? Is anybody shy? Is that why you're not speaking, or any other reason?
Nandini here.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to thank HR&OD department and all the organizers It was very well organized session, which was thought provoking, and it was interactive also. So I would like to thank everyone. It's a nice session.
Thank you so much, Nandan. It was real kind of you to say that. And words like these, keeps us going all the time. Do you have anybody else who would love to share their feedback?
Okay, before I guess that's all with the feedback which we have. I would this is supposed to be the end of the event, but I will take this opportunity for next 2 minutes. I'll keep it really short before our judge joins us. I would like to thank my team. By the way, this is Vaishnavi, President of Bhavishya. I would like to thank my entire team for putting so much efforts into this event. We have many committees working for this: communication, corporate. We have a research committee and operations committee. All your efforts have paid off, is what I would like to say. Thank you so much for even in this pandemic situation, even with our online classes, with all the hurdles out there, people have worked so much. I would like to mention all the names once, because every effort should be recognized, right? So I would like to first thank my communication team, Tenavan and Estrella, for their amazing work, for getting all the mementos done, for all the invites done, and the certificates for the winners, which is going to be announced in a few minutes. I would also like to thank our corporate team, who has brought us such a wonderful uh, speakers for the day. Angel and Pradeep, thank you so much for contributing and getting us such an amazing speakers. It was really nice. And we also have our operations team, Ajay and Rishi. They worked a lot by communicating, connecting with the speakers, sending mails to the participants. Thank you so much for all your efforts and contribution. I would have the last but not the least, as a research team, where we have uh, Sibia Jacob and Kirtana, doing lots of research work behind to identify the topic for the event and to come up with uh, a very unique topics which is attracts most of us these days. So thank you so much. We also have our treasurer, Deepthi and Bharat. Thank you so much for all your efforts. And my support system, General Secretary and Joint General Secretary, Sanjay and Shruti, for your contributions. It was amazing working with you all. I would like to do this because this is our final event, and all the efforts should be recognized. Thank you all for your efforts.
And last but not the least, to tell about you, Vaishnavi, the captain of the ship, or I could say the president of the Bhavishya Forum. Thank you so much for leading us through, for in an amicable manner rather than a strict captain. So you were really kind and cooperative, and you let us do things on our own way, and you supported us in every single way. Thank you so much, Vaishnavi.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Arun.
Yes.
Okay, so we will maybe take this little forward. We will move into felicitating our Monday Mystery project contributors. Before we get into it, a small introduction about what Monday Mystery actually is and how we got to, start with this project. This backbone and the contributor, the idea giver of Monday Mystery is Deepthi, who is the treasurer of Bhavishya. She came up with an idea of, students, when connected with the corporates, are facing a minimal challenge of understanding the terminologies, jargons, which has been used by most of the corporate people, which is not much aware of in the student community. So that is where we came up with Monday Mystery project, where corporates help us to learn few things, learn new jargons, learn new concepts, uh, and we have successfully completed 9 episodes, where 2 episodes had 2 parts. My wholehearted thanks and appreciation to all the contributors and the student member of Bhavishyas who actually initiated every week the Monday Mystery program. So, as a token of our love, we would like to felicitate all the Monday Mystery contributors from the corporate who have connected with us with all the busy schedules they have, and helping us to put up this project and complete it successfully. So over to Jaishriya.
Yeah, thank you, Vaishnavi. So, I'd like to thank Mr. Satish Menon, co-founder Third Way Solutions Private Limited, for sharing with us, about abandon rate HR metric and how important it is. So, thank you, sir. And I'd like to further extend my thanks to Mr. Ajish Kumar, Head HR Indal Money. And thank you, sir, for sharing with us about rookie rate ratio and how that every company needs to be doing it. Thank you, sir. I'd like to further propose my thanks to Ms. Harshita Chowdhury, Senior Management Talent and OD Global Freshworks. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing with us on how important organizational network analysis is and how people analytics should also be done. I'd like to further extend my thanks to Mr. Shriram Shanmugam, founder, Credite. And thank you, sir, for talking to us about blockchain technology and how important and beneficial it will be to the organization and how important it is to be incorporated into HR processes. Thank you, sir. Over to Vaishnavi.
Yes, we have yet another dynamic personality, Srilekha S. Kumar ma'am. She is a deputy manager of Ampholian FCI. She has helped us with learning or enhancing our knowledge about the shared services. Thank you so much, ma'am. Apart from your busy schedules, you took time for contributing and helping us grow our knowledge. Thank you, ma'am. And the next contributor, we have Shyam Sundar Nagarajan sir, the founder of Go Floaters. He helped us with understanding what the concept of hybrid working is. And I'm sure you all have learned a new concept. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and considering our invite. We have yet another amazing personality called Vetri Kumaran sir. He's a recruitment lead of TVS Sundaram Iyengar and Sons Private Limited. He has given us 2 parts of videos. He has contributed for 2 weeks to help us understand about gig employment, which he has done his major research on. Thank you so much, sir, for highlighting us about what gig employment is. And we have Jimmy Jain, sir, uh, who very sportively contributed towards Monday Mystery. He is the founder of 4B Contributors. So he's a coach, and I met him in one of his workshop, and he immediately accepted my request. It was so amazing of you to highlight us on few important concepts in Train the Trainer program. Thank you so much, sir. And Anish Arvind, sir, the co-founder and principal consultant of HCM Organizational Effectiveness and SS Consulting. He has helped us about, this is a topic which is going to come upcoming Monday. He very sportively showed his energy to contribute towards Monday Mystery. He always is very much interested in helping people to learn and enhance his knowledge. So thank you so much, sir, for being part of this. I would like to thank each and every contributor of Monday Mystery to take a step ahead and help the young community, the HR community, to learn new concepts. Without you all and your contribution, Monday Mysteries is not what it is today. Thank you so much. And now we have the most awaited moment, announcing the winners of the competition which was held. We have Vishwanath sir here. I would like to invite Arun to give a short introduction about sir.
Thank you, Vaishnavi. Welcome, sir, to our session to felicitate the award winners. It is my honor to introduce about you to the crowd. So, Vishwanathan sir is a corporate trainer and consultant with 3 decades of experience at senior management levels in India and abroad, especially focusing in the Sultanate of Oman. He provides high impact training in the areas of project management, DC psychology, which is into colored brain communication and emotional drives, communication skills, leadership, team building, and emotional intelligence. He is also a visiting faculty for B schools handling personnel management, operations, and SCM subjects. And he is a consultant for quality management as well. It is our privilege to have you here, sir. Over to you to announce the winners.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So, how do we go about? We'll announce the blog writing competition first. Okay.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but before I announce, I would like to thank all the participants and many congratulations to Team Bhavishya for the excellent work done by you. Excellent coordination right from the beginning. And they've arranged it in a very, very short time. So it's really amazing work. So I'm really privileged to be part of this judging panel. So the blog writing competition.
So one second.
Yeah.
Can we start with Glitz Up, sir?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. The Glitz Up competition. The winner is Varsha B, MA HRM from Stella Maris College. So a round of applause to her.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. It was really very creative. The requirements were that it has to be creative as well as it has to convey the content. So both were there. Really a good presentation.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Varsha. Yeah. Now, shall we move on to the other blog writing contest?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So the first prize again goes to Varsha B, MA HRM from Stella Maris College. So many congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Varsha.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the second place goes to Davis Panna, MA HRM from Patrician College of Arts and Science, Chennai. So many congratulations. Yeah. Okay. The third prize, the consolation prize, goes to R. Akshaya, MSW Self-Financing Stream, HRM.
Thank you, sir.
First year.
Thank you.
Yeah. So congratulations once again to all the prize winners. I also congratulate all the other participants of the competition, because participation is really one step that you take towards your ultimate goal. And just a few suggestions on especially when you write about blog. I find that all of you have used some material from the internet. There is absolutely nothing wrong in using sources from the internet, because today you have lots of information, especially. But when you are using these information, It's always, you take those materials, but put it in your own words, use your creativity. And when you do that, then, it's the whole content appears to be different, and it places you in a different league than others. I found that some of them were almost a complete replica from the internet. So that is to be avoided. So that's just for your future competitions and entries. And some of you maybe, even taking blog writing quite seriously, because that is a field which is catching up now. So for serious blog writers also, you can take it up. And the prize winning entries, so what distinguished them from the others, it's basically the clarity, the originality. And even though some references have been made to the internet, the content has been presented in a original way. So that's the thing. And the second thing is the flow, the sequence. You in writing we call it as the Pisces. It has to be concise, clear, and then considerate communication. So all these are the elements which we are looking at in the communication. So that's the thing. And one more suggestion is to all the blog writers. It's always better, you put some paragraph titles. So whenever you are writing it, you make some paragraph title, so that will make the formatting, it will look more nice, and it is easier for the people to read it. I have written about more than 200 articles in newspapers and all. See, these articles, if you ask the editors, how do they select it? It is basically the first paragraph that is very, very important, because in the first few lines, you should catch the attention of the readers. So, and then how do you structure it? It could be even 400 words, 450 words, but how you structure it, how you bring all the content into the thing, and wherever possible, you can also use creativity and your humorous, if you can use wit and humor in your thing, it has to match with the topic. It's not just totally out of place. If it is blending in a very, very seamless way with the subject, that will be much, much appreciated. So that's again part of your creativity. So use all these techniques, and then definitely all of you can do very well. So wish you all the best, and thanks to Team Bhavishya for the opportunity. Over to Team.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Real kind of you, and thank you so much for the tips and tricks, so that we can use it and become a blog writer soon. That's real kind of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Now I request our treasurer of the forum, Ms. Deepthi, to express gratitude towards the participants and every stakeholders involved in this event.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to express my vote of thanks by opening with a quote. Acknowledging the good that you already have in life is the foundation for all the abundance. I deem it a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this event such a resounding success. To begin, I would like to thank our wonderful set of panelists, Ms. Juhi Joseph, Mr. Manish Gupta, Ms. Alina Ali, Ms. Neelam Jain, Ms. Pooja Shahini, and Mr. Vishwanathan Vaidyanathan for gracing today's event, and a special mention to all our Monday Mystery contributors. Thank you all for your very interesting and thought-provoking speeches. At this moment, I would like to express a profound gratitude to our principal, Dr. Raja Samvel sir, for his unstinted support. And my heartfelt thanks to our beloved HOD, Professor Shivranjni, for her valuable contribution, guidance, and encouragement in all our efforts. I'm very happy to express my vote of thanks to our staff members, Professor Dunstan, Professor Venkatesh, Professor Ruby, and Professor Narasimhan, who have inspired and motivated the students to be the best they can be every day. I owe a special gratitude to all the members of the Bhavishya Forum for making this event a great success. And finally, the wonderful students who have turned up in such great numbers, not only from our college, but also from other colleges and all the working professionals who have joined us online. It is you who graced this event and made it a huge success. Thank you all for your cooperation and please stay home and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deepthi, for the warm words. And I would like to request Vaishnavi to felicitate Sir Vishwanathan.
Hi, sir. Thank you so much for joining. As sir said, we started this program and this competitions in a very short span. And I'm very happy to announce that we have 19 plus participant registrations for the event. Vishwanath sir, when we got to you, it was a very short span. I totally understand, and you still accepted our invite, and you were just amazing, sir. You are apart from just judging, you gave us the tips to improve ourselves, which is so nice of you and kind of you. Thank you so much for your efforts in helping us to make this competition a successful one. I would like to present a virtual memento to Vishwanath sir.
Thank you.
That is for you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Vaishnavi. So we came to the end of the day, and thank you so much for all the participants who are patient and interested to attend this event throughout the day and rendering us the great support we ever had. Thank you so much, and please stay safe along with your families, and let's together as a nation get through this pandemic, and let's get back to normal as soon as possible. I really wish you very good health and very good time with your family, and please stay safe and contribute whatever you can to this big problem we have in hand right now. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. And I request the HR&OD department students to stay back for the feedback session. Others can leave them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining.